Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Universe Within podcast. This episode of the show is being sponsored by the Amazonian Plant Healing Center, the Temple of the Way of Light. The temple is a place I've worked at for a number of years, I think the last 8 years or so I can really attest to the quality of the work that they do. They predominantly work with ayahuasca and the Shipibo lineage, working with 4 Shipibo doctors or healers, curanderos, 2 to 3 facilitators, which is kind of like a bridge between the guests who come down and the Shipibos who we work with. There's yoga teachers, vegetalistas, herbalists, people who work on bones, massages, really just an amazing support staff. And they really do an amazing job at creating an environment that really allows people to go really deeply into this plant work. Even from my experience, a lot of people who've worked with ayahuasca in other traditions outside of the Amazon, when they come to the temple, they really realize that it's just a different quality of work that's being done. So if anyone is interested in working with ayahuasca, going really deeply into a process, learning through the plants about themselves, healing, learning. It's really an amazing experience. They've been shut down, unfortunately, since March of 2020 due to the pandemic, but hopefully they will be opening in June of 2021. So if you're interested in learning more, you can check out their website at templeofthewayoflight.org, and there'll be a link in the show notes. Also, myself and my colleague, Marav Artsy, who I interviewed a few podcasts ago, we will be running dietas, which is a kind of a traditional process in which people learn through the plants. And we'll be running diets in Urubamba, which is in the Sacred Valley of Peru. We have 2 scheduled for this year. The first will be, I believe, March 3rd to the 19th, and the second is May 1st to the 17th. And that's a really amazing opportunity if one is interested in going deeper into this work, doing a dieta, and really learning directly, experientially from these plants. It's in the tradition we were both trained in, which is working with tobacco and trees, and it's a really amazing opportunity to really connect with oneself and to learn. So if you're interested in that, you can check out my website at nicotianarustica.org, and Marav's site is tobaccodiets.com. Both of those links will be in the show notes as well. My guest on today's show is my friend Irene. I met Irene actually working at the Temple of the Way of Light. She came down originally with an organization called ICEERS, the International Center of Ethnobotanical something research something. But essentially, they're the European equivalent of MAPS, which is the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies or Psychedelic Sciences. And they partnered with the temple to do, I believe, what was the largest and longest study on the long-term effects of working with ayahuasca. So they traced a number of guests who came through the temple using various parameters and judging their quality of life pre-arrival and then throughout the workshop, post-workshop, all the way up until I think a year or 2 years and maybe even longer now. And the results of that were pretty amazing. I'll also put a link to that study in the show notes. So that's how I met Irene. She came down as part of ICEERS gathering data for that study. She also is an art therapist, and she has a background in Jungian psychology. Carl Jung, who's a really, I would say, kind of amazing mystic in his own right, someone who really went deeply into the world of dreams and archetypes and symbology, and a really fascinating man. So she uses a lot of his work, a lot of his symbolism in her work. And then she began facilitating ceremonies and working with Shipibo, working at the temple, facilitating those ceremonies, running groups with people. And eventually she started dieting in the same tradition that I was trained in also, which is working with tobacco. So she's a really fascinating woman. She's a very dear friend. I have a lot of love and respect for Irene. And we talked about a lot of topics in this, about her background, about psychology, archetypes, plant medicines, her own experience and process. So it was a really nice conversation, and I think you all will get a lot out of it. Like always, if you're able to support this podcast, Patreon is a really good way. That really helps me to continue to produce new content, to bring on new guests, to continue making this show. Patreon is a subscription service, so there's different tiers you can subscribe to, making a monthly donation, and with that you get a lot of things back as well, things like early access to shows, bonus material, Q&As, things like that. So it's a really big help to me, and it's a really big help to the show. There's also the option of direct donating through PayPal. There's a link in the show notes as well. And if you're not able to do that, simply going on the YouTube channel, Universe Within Podcast, subscribing to the show, turning on that little notification bell next to it, and liking the video. That's a really big help. And then with the audio version, going on Apple Podcasts, subscribing, and leaving a starred rating and a review. That's a really big help. So I think that's it. And without further ado, here is my conversation with Irene. Entonces, bueno, bienvenido.
Bien.
So,
I
Irene,
have a question. A question. Is it better for me to look at the camera here in the computer, or I can look at the screen?
Yeah. Look, you can look wherever.
Okay. I'm so new at that.
So I met you at the Temple of the Way of Light, the Amazonian Panhandling Center. And I think you arrived after I had left for the first time. I left to do kind of a long series of dieting, which we'll probably talk about more later on. And I think you came during that period, because I remember coming back. I think maybe I did a tobacco ceremony or something at the temple, and I was having lunch and I saw you. And that was the first time. I think maybe we briefly talked, but then I probably didn't see you again for, I don't know, a few months or even a year until I came back. So you're originally from Catalonia.
Exactly.
I had to make sure I didn't say Spain. And so maybe just to start, maybe you can speak a little bit about your background, like, you know, who is Irene? What's her story? And because when you first came to the temple, you were working for ICEers. So maybe what happened before then, and then what led you eventually to ICEers?
Okay, so
starting from day one.
Happened before day one. Yeah, I'm from Barcelona, and from when I was a kid, I always felt very connected to nature. I was going to nature a lot with my family, and I remember like being in the forest, I always felt like at home, you know, like trying to talk to the trees, like every kid, you know, like doing all these things. And later in life, starting university, this connection got lost some way. And some years after, I tried to reconnect with that, but not in the good direction, obviously. I was living in different squads for many years, trying different substances. And that led me to a big crisis of faith. And I end up in a community, like a spiritual community near Barcelona in the mountains. And I remember being there, like really asking myself, if there is a God, one, where is it? And what's all of this going on? No, I always been very interested in the unconsciousness and what is that the eye cannot see. And during my time there, I met ayahuasca. And for me, it was like, I remember very well this first ceremony, no, where I could see all the dark side of myself, but also I could see all the bright side, you know. And I was like, oh, well, we are not so bad. Okay, let's work. We have work to do, but there's hope. No, there's a lot of light and there's a lot of things. And from that time on, that was, I think, I was 27, something like that. And yeah, I started to work with the medicine. And I was working with these people, the Maloca Association, La Maloca. And I was working there for 5 years. No, at the beginning I was just drinking, and then I was asked to participate in the ceremonies. And during these 5 years, I learned a lot. It was very beautiful to facilitate to people. The community that we built there was beautiful. And and then I met all the people from ICEERS that they became my friends. And I started to get involved with ICEERS. No? ICEERS is the International Center for Ethnobotanical Research and Study. And I was volunteering there with any conference they were doing. I was there. And so at some stage during these 5 years, towards just the year before I went to the temple, this thought came to my mind, no? Like, maybe I should go to the jungle, because it's been a long time that I'm working with this medicine. But you are in your comfort zone. And I thought, okay, jungle will not move from there. So it will be time, don't worry. And I think 2 months after that, I was asked if I wanted to go to the jungle. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to the jungle. And that was because from ICEERS, they proposed me if I wanted to participate in that study. It's a study that we carry when I was in the temple, a long-term study about the effects, the therapeutical effects of ayahuasca in long-term well-being, no? Like applied to depression, anxiety, PTSD, and well-being in general. So I went to the temple, like, yeah, they sent me, it's like, okay, you speak English, more or less. You have experience with the medicine. And also I'm art therapist, so it's like you can also offer classes there if it's needed. I said yes, and yeah, I think it was October 2014. I land in the Amazonian rainforest. And yeah, I mean, that was a big shift, no? Because like this 5 years in Barcelona drinking the medicine, I was joining also the Santo Daime Church, and that was amazing, but it was like one kind of work with the medicine, no? And then was arriving to the jungle was another chapter, like, and in the beginning, I went there for 1 year and I end up staying 5. So the jungle sucked me in. I didn't go.
So maybe you can talk a little bit about ICEERS. Some people may have heard of it. I would imagine many people haven't. Maybe some people have heard of MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies or Science.
Yeah.
They're based in the US. And would you say ICEERS is kind of the European counterpart of that?
Yeah, they are based in Barcelona, and they carry studies mainly about ayahuasca, iboga, and medicinal cannabis. And they are the responsibles for the ayahuasca, the World Ayahuasca Conference that we did 3 of them, one in Ibiza, 2014, the other one in Acre in Brazil in 2017. And the last one was 2019 in Girona, up north here in Catalonia. So yeah, they do an amazing work. They have like a part of the foundation is working on all the legal side, no, helping people that is having troubles with the laws in different countries in Europe and also in South America. So yeah, they are doing a great job. They are doing lots of studies and research. And I think that for many people and also for governments, no, they need this point of view, like the science saying that or that ayahuasca it's a medicine, it's not a drug, and I think it's very important that the work they do, no, because they are using science to demonstrate that there is benefit for the health, no, in using these medicines in a good context, in a good setting with responsibility. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. You also have a background in Jungian psychology too, no?
Yeah. As I said, I am art therapist, and when I did my master, the teachings were with Jungian approach. So for me was very interesting to go to a temple, because before going to a temple, my ideal job was a job where I can mix ayahuasca and art therapy with all the Jungian approach and the archetypes and the dream world, the dream space. And yeah, for me being at the temple was like, oh my God, I'm doing it. I'm doing the job of my life, you know, like, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful for me to have the opportunity to mix these two, because when I met the medicine, I also was when I began to study art therapy. So for me, ayahuasca and art therapy are things that are very untangled and very, yeah, for me are like two tools, no, to use. And yeah, the temple was my arena to expand all my practice.
And what does that entail? I mean, I'm a little bit familiar with it, but not so much. And I'm sure a lot of people, they may have heard of, obviously, Carl Jung, but how would you describe his work and that approach to working, and also maybe how you relate that to art therapy as well?
Oh, yeah, I guess for me, Carl Jung was a pioneer, really, in his time, and really he deep down into into his own unconsciousness, but also I think his work, it really brings a lot of light into into our unconsciousness too. And so there's a very, I don't know, for me, it's a very special way to look into the insight, no, of the people. I really engage a lot with the work through the archetypes, no, this energetic, the psychic energies that we have inside, that different authors, they call it different things, but for me at the time, it really resonated. And I could really see inside of me many voices and many characters that I thought were me. But the moment I started working with art therapy in this kind of point of view, I start realizing, okay, these are just part of me, you know, these are not me. And when you start naming them, in the moment you have a lot of people inside of you. But it's very nice, because then you have your power back, you know. It's like when the judge came out and you are judging yourself, like, oh wait, this is whatever name you call it, no? And then that psychic energy, it loses a little bit of power, you know, and then you get back this power, and then you can manage better. And so for me with art therapy, as I was working in the temple, through the deep immersion program, I was doing like a series of exercise working with these different archetypes, no? Also depending on how the group was feeling, and also sometimes working individually with the people. But yeah, through different exercises, you know, we were bringing up these archetypes or whatever was coming up in the ceremonies, and just bringing them into art, you know, into something material that maybe after we can talk to, you know, we can ask things to this mask we did, or this picture, or this collage, or this piece of mud that we smashed first, and then we did something with that. Yeah. And also the dream space, no, was a big part. The dream space and the symbology that Jung opened up for me was really important. I was like working with my dreams prior to arriving to the jungle, and that was very nice work, because through Jung I realized the importance of creating your own symbology. You know, because sometimes when we have dreams, it's like, oh, I dreamt with a black cat. I'm gonna look in internet what the black cat means. And it's like, maybe you just need to look inside of you, what it means to you, you know. And for me, that was what Jung was also saying, no, that first of all is your own symbology, what matters the most. And then you can go and look to the universal symbology, and probably we'll have something in common. But the exercise of building up your own symbology really helps a lot. And because, yeah, you start creating your own world, and you start understanding and using these symbols for your own good.
So the when Jung is speaking of the unconscious, is that something that he's pointing to, that in the dream space we're accessing that unconscious mind?
I mean, dream space is a big gate to the unconscious mind, but not only. You know, during the day, there's plenty moments where the unconsciousness can play, but obviously in the dream space is the easiest one because our conscious is asleep, no, and then we have, yeah, the consciousness is not there, no. But for that, I link it a lot with art, no, because when we are doing something, better if we are not good at, no, if I'm a writer, or if someone is a writer, I will not ask this person to write something. I will say, okay, let's do some math and see what happens, no. So when we are doing art, there's a moment where the conscious goes away, kind of, you know, and then the unconscious can come. Is this during the daytime? There's little holes where the unconscious can come, you know. But obviously during the dream time is the big time for the unconsciousness. So for me, it was very interesting to see how my dream space changed when I started working with plants, for example. That was big because it was not the same, you know, and I really I could perceive the difference it's difficult to explain, but it's different. It's different. The dream of when you are working with plants, you know, the dreams are different than when you are not. And that opened up another, even the symbology, no, or even how the symbology, because when you work with plants, obviously you're working with a tradition also. And in your dream space, all the symbology of that tradition is coming in. Whether you like it or not, or you understand it or not, is coming in. And that for me was a big change. I said, wow, that's another space to, and it was very interesting to be able to do things in the dreams, you know, when you're dieting, you know, when you're drinking medicines, or at least in my experience, no, I learned to do something in my dreams to really, just to have the awareness. Okay, I'm sleeping, I'm in a diet, I'm sleeping. Okay, that's a test. Okay, so I need to do that, or I need to do that, or da, 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 da.
So why do you think, like you're speaking about those archetypes, about labeling those, like, oh, this is the voice of the judge who's constantly judging things, or this is the I don't know what the archetype is, but maybe the person who's afraid of something and that's coming out. So what is the benefit in identifying those? Does the process of identifying it help us to begin to create space around it, or to free us of those things, or just to have a better understanding of ourselves?
I mean, in my experience, it really helped me a lot to separate myself from that, you know, because with the judge, that is the common one, and I mean, everyone can relate to this one. In the moment, I was asked in my process with art therapy to name it, you know, to give it a name that I don't know anyone about. So I did, and what I saw is that every time the judgment was coming, I was like, that is whatever, John, you know, that's John. And in that moment, this judgment was losing power, you know. So that was very interesting to see. Oh my God! So when I see this judgment, this thought, this pattern, as something outside of me, you know, I mean, it's inside of me and it's part of me, but it's not me. In the moment I see it like that, it loses power. It loses influence in me. That's one side. And the other side, I realized through time that sometimes I was, I mean, like a tendency maybe on me, I don't know if in more people, but like the negative aspects of us, we wanted far away, you know. Like I had this experience in a ceremony where I was facing like my craziness. No, it was this little being with big eyes, like very crazy eyes, and I I opened this hole in the ground and I sent it down there, you know, like very deep. And all of a sudden I thought, no, wait a minute. If it's down there, I cannot see it, you know? So I bring it up and I put it just next to me. And then I realized all the other archetypes, all the other, these beings inside of it were there, you know? The victim, the saboteur, the judge, all were there. And I understood, claro, I want you right next to me. And I want to know who you are. And I want to know, what are you doing, you know? And with who are you hanging out? You know, and at the end was beautiful because through all this speech, at the end of the sentence was like, and I love you. You know, so it's all this circle, no, like knowing what these things are, and you have this little fight with that, but at the end of the day, it's better to love them because they are part of you. So there's no need to be in war or in conflict with them because they are part of you and they are part of the human experience, you know, and they are so valid as all the positive one, you know. So yeah, I think for me that was a very big learning about the archetypes and the importance of that, no? But it's also, I could see through the years, no? I was working a lot with that in a certain moment, and now it's not fade away, but because I feel them there, but it's like, okay, that was a stage in my life, you know, thank you. And now I feel like in others, but I think that because of all the work I've done, you know, like integrating the shadow and all these beautiful concepts that we use in this world.
Yeah, many people I think are interested in dreams and exploring those more. What do you have any like thoughts on what are good ways to better connect? Because one of the things I often hear from people is people say, I don't dream. And from my understanding, that's impossible. I mean, we all dream.
We all dream.
Because our consciousness is there. It doesn't go somewhere. It's
Exactly.
still
And
present.
the unconsciousness is there, you know, the unconsciousness is always there. So it's like people should say, I don't remember my dreams, because it happened to me. Sometimes you wake up and it's like, no, I didn't have any dream. No, you have, but you don't remember, you know? And that can be sometimes because the consciousness is blocking the dreams, because the consciousness thinks that we are not ready to receive these dreams. So then we will need to do a work of talking to our consciousness and to ourselves and say, I'm open, I want that information to come, I'm ready, I'm safe. You know, it's like a self-defense mechanism. But I think that if someone wants to deep the knowledge in the dreams, it requires time and dedication. You know, I think it's very important to write them down, you know, to give that space when you woke up, not moving too much, don't activate yourself too much, and just to have like a little notebook near your bed and write them down, just few words. And at the beginning will be difficult for sure. You only will remember like some words, but the more you do it, it's like a muscle at the end of the day. It's like a muscle. The more you practice it, the more it unfolds. So yeah, after we write them down, then it's just taking a space every day or whatever we can. And it's not that we need to write everyday's dreams, because every day we don't have meaningful dreams every day, you know, and sometimes we just need to grab these dreams that we feel very important. And it's about writing them down. And then there's different techniques, you know, you can see what are the items that really are keeping your attention, no? And if there is 3 items in the dream that really are keeping your attention, because maybe you can do a visualization with them, no? If there is a black cat, okay, you connect with the black cat, and maybe you can just write, just evocate the image of the black cat and just write down whatever comes to mind. That requires practice, you know, because the automatical writing is difficult, because the consciousness is always there and always wants a meaning right here, right now. But the more you practice, it's time and perseverance, honestly. And the beautiful thing is that the more you do it, then you can you start building up your own dictionary of symbology. It's your own, no? So when a cat appears, you know what the cat means for you. And I think when we start working with that, it's very beautiful, all the unfolding, no? And how you connect more, and you give really the space and the importance that the dream space have. Because in many cultures, no? In many ancient cultures, dream space is as important as the daytime, because it's part of our life. And we can get information, we can solve problems there, we can integrate things. Not that as Jung was saying, the process of individualization is happening through dream space. It's the same that our body, the body is breathing by itself, the heart pumps by itself, digestion happens by itself. Well, in the unconsciousness, some things work like that also. They happen naturally, you know. There's nothing you have to do for that to happen. It will happen. It's human evolution.
So do you think that's the real benefit of accessing the dream space? Is it is this whole other realm that's also giving us information, or we can learn? Because as you said, there are a lot of cultures that put a tremendous amount of importance on dreams. I could be wrong, but I think it's the Shuar, the Ashwar. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's a group in Ecuador, and when they wake up, they drink this tea, this beverage of Wayusa, which is related to yerba mate. And they all drink quite a lot of it. And they sit around, they get up very early, they sit around and they drink. And then often, like, the grandmother, the elder, takes all of that information and she interprets it as to essentially how they should live that day, because the dreams of the past night were kind of guiding them to what to do in the following day.
Exactly. That's like a very good example, no, on how the dream space is integrated in the daytime. Like it's as important. I think that in our culture, you need to build up this relationship again, you know, because there's sometimes that you dream and you don't understand why this dream is telling you. So I guess it's through time and through the relationship with that you can start seeing the relationship, no, between your life and your dream life. So yeah, I think it's important to get to know yourself better also. And I don't think many people understand that, but it's like, no, it's just a dream. No, it's not just a dream. It's not just a dream. I mean, don't take it literally, no, because dream space, as a lot of people say, no, ayahuasca also works in that realm, no, the metaphor, the symbol, there's some information that sometimes is very difficult to unlock, but just it's because we don't have the habit of diving there and seeing what is there. But yeah, I think it's a very good tool to know yourself better.
Yeah, and you mentioned this idea that something like ayahuasca is also accessing the same realm. Do you think that's maybe not the only, but one of the main things that these plant medicines are doing is they're giving us access to that realm? Because it seems like, you know, one interesting thing with plant medicine is often in our dream, you know, as you were saying, many people just don't remember that space. But it seems like one of the interesting things that plant medicine is doing is, I mean, almost always when one is under the effect of that plant medicine, like ayahuasca, one kind of has one foot in both worlds. One is very aware of that space that they're in, but one is usually also, as long as they haven't taken too much, somewhat aware of you know, what we call reality. So they kind of have one foot in both worlds. And in that way, it seems it's much easier to maybe understand or to remember, to synthesize, or to take in that information, because we're very aware and present to it.
Totally. Caro, I think that, you know, we have our individual unconsciousness, and then there's the collective unconsciousness, no? And then there's the spiritual world. And what during these years in the jungle, I felt that claro, maybe this collective unconsciousness where there is all of our psychic energies from humanity, but much more things there. Maybe that is the spiritual world. Maybe that collective unconsciousness is where they meet, you know, and how plants can bring us there. I mean, during the process of dieting, I was like having 5-7 dreams a night, and I was remembering everything, you know. And then when I was not on diet, sometimes I was not remembering my dreams, sometimes I was, sometimes, but not in the same. So I definitely would say that working with plants like ayahuasca, tobacco, any kind of trees, or they help you. They help you step into this world, no? And to learn about humanity, about yourself, about whatever is farther away beyond the limits.
That's an interesting point too, is I find often when a lot of people are describing this work, especially more and more, they often describe it as these plants are healing us. But the way you've described some of this work is this aspect of learning. And, you know, it's interesting, for example, in Shipibo, the word for ayahuasca, uni, is more in alignment with this idea of learning, of knowing. It's a direct experience of something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's a difference in that, or are they both really pointing at the same thing? And in order to learn, we also have to heal. And, you know, in order to heal, there also has to be a learning with that as well.
Yeah, for me, there's something in the healing word, and maybe is how a lot of people take, you know, if I need to heal, it's because it's something wrong, you know. But also healing and learning is kind of the same, you know, and it's not that there's something wrong or you know, we are broken or anything like that. Or maybe we are, but there's something in the learning part that heals you, you know, like when you learn, you understand, and then you can connect things. You can, I don't know, it's kind of tricky, this question, huh? But yeah, for me, and that was something I was seeing a lot when I was in Peru. A lot of people, no, were expressing. I realized that when a message of wisdom was coming through, a lot of times people was like, ayahuasca told me, you know? And I was like, Because for me, it always have been, I always felt that ayahuasca or other plants, they were turning up the volume of my higher self. So my higher self could communicate with me and I could hear better. So for me, it was very curious to see why every time a message of wisdom is coming through, it's from something external, you know, it's from that spirit that is telling, well, at the end, we are all one, you know, but but it's from something outside, you know, and it's not that a way to give away your power, you know, like, and I understand, and I don't judge, everyone's experience is valid, and I understand it's very cool that a plant spirit talks to you. I also like that. But, you know, I was like, for me, it's always been like that they turn up the volume. And again, is the plant spirit that is doing the turning up the volume. So you are already in relationship with that, you know. But for me, I feel much more empowered when I say, yeah, that's my voice, you know, or what's my voice at the end of the day, you know, that's the voice of wisdom. It doesn't even have to be mine.
So what was that like for you coming down to Peru? So you had worked with some of these plants like ayahuasca via these ceremonies with Santo Daime, and then you find yourself in this Amazonian plant healing center.
With a bunch of gringos speaking English. It was a shock. No, it was very, I was so happy to be there, so happy. But for me, it was very shocking, the ceremony setting, you know, because I came from a more therapeutical setting where we work with candlelights. And in the Santo Daime also there's light because you need to be reading the songbook. And for me, it was very challenging at the beginning, the first months, to sit in complete darkness in the Maloka. I was like, I was not understanding it. Why not even one candle, guys? It's like one candle, you know, just to bring some light into this darkness. You know? But towards, you know, yeah, through the years, through the experiences, I realized that in darkness you see better, you know, you hear better, you see better. And yeah, coming back here, it was challenging also, no? Like to go back to this too many light. It was like, no, I cannot work with that. I'm sorry. I got used to the medicine in the darkness. Yeah. But yeah, for me it was like, because I only worked with ayahuasca before, I did some tobacco ceremonies before coming also. But when I start knowing about these many plants in the jungle, oh my God, I have no idea. When I start knowing about dieting and all these processes and all these things, I had the feeling that ayahuasca was just the tip of the iceberg, you know, and that was very shocking to me because ayahuasca was all for me. And all of a sudden it was, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like yeah, she was the guardian of the door, really. It felt like, come in, and knew all my friends. So yeah, for me that was very mind-blowing. And also like knowing the process of dieting and the tobacco. Also, it blew my mind because I was not expecting at all, you know. I thought that my thing was ayahuasca and I was going to, in some way, shape or form, end up working with ayahuasca. And when I met tobacco, I was very shocked, really, because I was not expecting that. And then I started to diet with Ernesto, and halfway in one of the diets, I have this moment, no, that you are there thinking, and I was like asking myself, what are you doing exactly here? I mean, why are you dieting these trees? Why are you learning from that man? Why? And all of a sudden the answer came like, because I'm going to work with tobacco. And I was like, oh my goodness, what's that? You know? And I was like, I was caught, you know, by the tobacco and by this tradition. And it felt so beautiful. And so it's just, life is so mysterious, you know. You have your expectations and then it's like, nah, whatever. There's another way. It's just here. So yeah, for me, the jungle was like a big discovery of many, many, many beautiful plants and trees, and the tobacco plant also. Big discovery.
Yeah. Yeah, let's, I think we'll definitely get into tobacco more. Because when you first came down, you were working with art therapy. You were, I imagine, sitting in ceremonies. And then eventually you started facilitating ceremonies. What was that process like? That was also, was that the first time you had worked with Shipibo people?
Yeah.
So what was that? Yeah, kind of, what was that journey like of kind of, you know, you mentioned this idea of sitting in a maloka in the dark. It was very different. What was kind of that process like for you of sitting with these Shipibo people, working in a very different way? Did you find yourself learning different things, or was it getting to the same thing, but just in a different angle? Kind of what, maybe you can talk a little bit about that first, I guess, year or two that you were there.
Yeah, the first year was, very intense. I sat in a lot of ceremonies the first year. The first 2 years were like, whoa. And I found myself, like when I was sitting in the Santo Daime, for example, I got a lot of discipline, you know, but really going to the Maloka and being in the dark, that for me was like, whoa. I learned a lot about like knowing when I'm procrastinating and when I'm not, you know, in the Maloka. That was a big a big one, you know, because so many ceremonies, I was so tired, you know, and I went to drink the medicine, and then I was laying down, and I was like, what are you doing? It's like, sit up, you know, you need to sit up, and if you cannot sit up, don't come to ceremony. So like these different parts of myself, maybe this archetype was showing up, you know, like, hey, what are you doing here? What are you... And the experience with the maestros was so mind-blowing. Like someone singing to you for me was like, I'm a big, I love to sing. And having that, I remember for the first year, well, no, through all the 5 years, every time someone was singing to me, it was like, oh my goodness, you know, this moment of awe, of saying, this person is dedicating me her or his voice, her work, his work. And that was another aspect of the medicine, like being able to feel the vibration, the effect on my body of what they were singing. And also, being in the dark in the Maloka also brought up very challenging moments, you know, because sometimes you feel, or I felt very much alone in the dark, you know. And the process of feeling alone was leading to not feeling alone, because it's like, no, there's plenty of people sitting here for you. If you need help, you just need to ask for. And also was like this exercise of asking for help when I need it. And it took me time. Sometimes I couldn't, you know, and then it's like, okay, why are you not asking for help? Why are you stumbling in the mud here saying, pour me? So, you know, and so, yeah, I think the darkness of the Maloka really, it shaped me, you know, in some ways made me tougher. But also I feel stronger, you know, after that. But yeah, I think that I forever will have the Malokas in my heart.
And did you feel like the Shipibo who you were working with, did you feel like they were working in a different way, or they were accessing the same thing just in a different manner, or it was a completely different way of working?
I mean, before going to Peru, I had very deep ceremonies, very profound. But it's true that being in the dark where there is no distraction for you, you can open your eyes if you want, but you will see nothing. And having the work of a person directed to you, that opened up things that I was not able to access, you know. And it's true that I felt that if in that moment I could access these things, also was because of the work I've done before, like for the path. But it's true that I had many moments there in the temple where I could go very deep, you know, to really touch the origin of the issue, you know. And I knew that was because of the setting and because of the maestros, because they knew also, you know. And that was really blowing my mind many times, you know, where the maestro will come and something will happen, and these words after, no, it's like, or the day after, you know, it's like, I saw that and you were here, and I was like, yes, totally. And that happened, yes, totally, you know. So you have a doctor in front of you that is making surgery, and that you know, there's no price for that. I mean, it really, really helps to go deep, much deep. Yeah.
And so then did you start, because you did some Shipibo diets too at one point, yeah?
Yeah, because
was that before you started facilitating, or that was around?
No, that was before. Like during the first 2 years that I was in the temple, I was busy with the study. So I was doing my art classes, movement, some anthropology classes also about what is a ritual. And I was busy with the study. And then when the study finished, supposedly my work was finished. And then they asked me to stay and facilitate. I said, yes. But yeah, I started to diet in these first 2 years with some Shipibo. And because when I started to know about the diet, I was like, okay, I want to diet with women, you know, because I feel safer. And yeah, I want this feminine energy. And what happened was like every time I was doing a diet with a maestra, afterwards, maestra was leaving, or was leaving forever, or was leaving for 6 months, or was leaving for, yeah. And that was a little bit of an issue because I really wanted to deep the relationship with the plants and with some maestra, and was not possible. And was not until 2016, 16? Yeah, I think so, 16, that I decided to go to meet Ernesto, because a friend of mine from here, from Barcelona, really told me very well about him. And many people there was dieting with him. I said, okay, I'm gonna give an opportunity to this guy and see. And yeah, it was instant. But with SCP was very nice also. I was a new world to discover, you know, a new world, like how to learn to be quiet, learn to be with myself, you know, learn to tune into what the plant is saying, when the plant is telling you go to your room, when the plant, you know, or the dream space. It's like, oh, that's very different. That's very.
So at that point, you had finished the study with ICEERS, and as you were saying, maybe you can talk a little bit about the point of that study. You said it was this, you know, collaboration between the temple and ICEERS studying the long-term effects of ayahuasca.
Of ayahuasca, yeah.
What were the results of that? And did you know them kind of at the end of your stay, that you already had the results in and you felt like your work was done, or?
No. I say, my work was done because the time for recollecting data, that was the thing I was responsible to, you know, to recollecting data, because we were asking people to sign up by internet, but we needed more people to participate. So I was like trying to enroll people just before the first ceremony there to fill up the questionnaires. And yeah, so when I finished recollecting data, they start to try, I don't know how you say in English, like from all this data to make some results, you know. So we presented the preliminary result in Acre, in the second Ayahuasca World Conference. And I think for me, one of the main points, I present the well-being preliminary results. And one of the things that I found most interesting was that people was more aware that they were not their thoughts, and they were not their emotions, and they were not their feelings, you know. It's called the centering. I mean, you know, that you get the ability, the capacity to separate yourself from your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings. No, a little bit is related to what I was saying before, no, with the archetype. It's like you separate yourself. It's like, okay, that's a part of me, but it's not me. I'm here, and all these things are here, no? And also it was a very nice increase in like social abilities, you know, like social capacities, family capacities. So yeah, it was very nice to present that in the conference.
And those results were pretty staggering. Yeah, I mean, I think they exceeded the expectations of what ayahuasca was doing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that was only the preliminary results. No, I think there's not so far away. They publish all the results. Maybe we can put the link here for people if they want to check. But yeah, it's interesting because I think one of the important parts is that is to give a scientific perspective to all this work, you know, because I think for many people it's necessary. Many people that want to approach the medicine but is scared, doesn't trust. But well, we have science here that is showing the results.
And how would you summarize that? That essentially, like, the baseline of where people came and the baseline 1 year, 2 years, 3 years later, there was a significant improvement across a variety of.
It was like for sure after the retreat, the curve went up, and then after a month, the curve went a little bit down, but stayed higher than before the workshop. And that was in many of the different aspects that we were looking at. So just for that, that's amazing, you know, that the people stayed in a certain level, not going down again. So yeah.
And it was really measuring things like a sense of well-being, a sense of connection to oneself, connection to family, things like anxiety, depression.
I mean, yeah, the questionnaires were super long. And yeah, there was a lot of scales that were used. I'm not familiar with this kind of, I always say that I got the best job in the study, you know, that I got to go to the jungle, stay there for 5 years, enjoying and learning a lot. And I just have to, you know, to enroll people in the studies. But yeah, there was a lot of skills, a lot of work put in that study, you know, and a lot of work afterwards also, you know, to measure all of that, to take all the information from that and to put it in paper and to put it in something coherent.
And is ICers, are they continuing to do studies with ayahuasca, like long-term studies of the benefits?
And at the moment is a little bit difficult, no, because all the planetary situation. But yeah, they have different projects, you know, also with iboga. They are doing a great job with iboga and with medicinal cannabis. But yeah, at the moment there's a study around how do you say in English, duelo, grief and ayahuasca that is starting to walk very slowly, but because of the situation, no. But yeah, I think that will be a very interesting one to comment.
Mm-hmm. So when you started facilitating, what was that like? Because I imagine, you know, one of the things you were talking about was these archetypes. So I'm sure you began to notice through working with a lot of people, I would imagine you began to see different archetypes of maybe people who came down, or the emotions or the journeys they were going through. What did you learn in that process as you began to facilitate people?
Yeah, totally. For me, to facilitate was like, when they asked me to facilitate, I was so happy because I was getting bored. You know, I realized I needed, not bored, but I needed challenge. You know, it was very nice to be an art teacher, but I needed more action. And I was missing really to be in ceremony and to be working. So yeah, it was very interesting to see in every group that was coming, you know, how all of us, at the end is all of us, you know, how we played different roles for each other, no? And how we were mothers, fathers, sisters, lovers, grandpas, grandmas, for everyone in the group, no? And how people in the group was getting this, he's the funny one, or he's the, well, many things. But also in ceremony, you know, when sometimes in ceremony, when these energies came, you know, and came into the maloca, and sometimes I could feel like the energy of the wilderness, you know, that was coming into the maloca, maybe through some of the guests, you know, that were having like this big explosion or thing like that. But yeah, totally.
I didn't know you were playing the archetype of the lover. Maybe that's something we have to talk about after we cut the camera.
You know, projections, transference, counter-transference, always like that. Boundaries.
And did you see in people's processes that there were common things that people were experiencing? You know, things that, because I would imagine, like, even I'm sure you've used, I think I've heard you use it, that this idea of the hero's journey, that people are essentially through this process going on a hero's journey. And with that, certain things arise. A lot of darkness can arise, you know, seeing where we're out of alignment, seeing things that are beautiful. And, you know, like you said, some people may be pointing the finger, like it's this person's fault or it's that fault. The victim comes out, and then maybe the wise person begins to emerge. Did you see common things that helped you as you began to facilitate, to learn how to work with people better?
Yeah, I mean, there was a point, I remember, maybe a year, into facilitating, year and a half, and the group was in a moment, and I thought, okay, now that's gonna happen, and that person that is saying that's gonna happen, and that was happening after, it's like, oh my God, it's like the doubt, I think that is a very common thing that was happening, not the doubting about everything, losing the faith, and how that was changing after. So it was beautiful to see it when you start seeing these things, like the loss of faith, being angry with everything and everyone, this connection to anger, and I'm just angry with everything, and it's like, okay, be angry, it's okay, that's the place to be angry. Don't don't hit anyone, but just allow yourself to be angry, and how people was feeling trapped on that's never going to change. But I knew it change in 2 ceremonies, maybe. You'll see. And in 2 ceremonies, we're like, oh, and you were like, look at that. How the process, it's like, I think the process of starting to drink the medicine, and then the medicine bringing up all these things that people was there to see. But one thing is your intention, and the other thing is when the thing happens, when you really see all these things of you that you don't like, and you need to see it, and there's no way out, only way through. And they appear. A lot of people was having this moment of just being angry. I don't like myself, I don't love myself, I don't like life, I don't, and how is the same that I was saying before, At the end of the day, I love you. To all these parts, you say, I love you. And when I was seeing people arriving to this point, like just embracing all these, all these parts of you. Also what I saw a lot was people saying things for the first time, maybe to me or to other facilitator or in the group setting. And that was very powerful. People sharing secrets, that they never told anyone before, and the amount of release that was bringing, not even in the ceremony, but just to say it. So for me, working on the temple, it really pointed the importance of the group setting, really. And that's very nice, and how we learn from each other, because at the end of the day, I remember many times listen carefully to the integration, sharings. And I was like amazed at how much I can relate to what that person is saying right now, because I'm going through something, and what you say, it really fits into what's happening to me. But I'm here facilitating, so it's different. But at the end of the day, everyone was going through a journey. We were all together from different positions, but we were all together going through that. So yeah, I for sure, like seeing people processes, you learn about yourself, and through working through yourself, then it's easy to help people, work through these stages with the medicine.
And what do you think is happening when, for example, with ayahuasca, when someone is sitting in a ceremony, or they're going through a process like we were working with, 5, 6, 7 ceremonies, the healers are singing to them. They've done this kind of pre-dieta. They've restricted a lot of things. How would you describe to someone? I mean, a lot of people listening, I'm sure, have worked with ayahuasca, but I'm sure some haven't too. So what do you, I mean, obviously this is a big question, and these things can work in mysterious ways too, but with your experience, maybe what are some ways that you've seen that plant is helping people to, as you said, to heal and also to learn. Like, because for someone who's worked with it, that they may understand what you're saying, but for someone who's never worked with the plant medicine, how does drinking some little cup of something heal you and teach you?
How they do that? Well, I don't think it's only ayahuasca, because you are in the jungle. First of all, you've done these pre-dieta restrictions that you really, if people take it seriously, it's a lot. It's a good effort. So your body and your mind are in a different mindset, and then you're in the jungle. So it's not that you are drinking the medicine, but you are in a big organism, living organism that is also influencing you, like you are breathing through your skin all the oxygen and chemicals that the jungle is releasing. And then during the workshops, you are also drinking plant remedies of different plants that are also going into the body. And as maestros say, their spirits are also with you in the ceremony. And maestros are singing to you these beautiful icaros of different plants. So then you drink ayahuasca with all of that. I mean, for me, it's much more bigger than ayahuasca. Is ayahuasca in the Shipibo, in that setting, obviously, no. It's like a puzzle. It's like a mechanism, like a technology, that is created there for people to go deep into this process. With ayahuasca, what I think it does for me, like I talk to many people and they say, no, I'm afraid to drink because I don't want to see things I don't know. And it's like, in these 10 years or 12 years that I've been drinking, I never see anything that I really didn't know before. I see it more clearly, that's for sure, and here, but everything that shows you, already. One thing is that you don't want to look at that, and you have put that in a drawer or in a closet down there, and you forget about, but So I think the medicine is bringing up all these things that we hide, that we are afraid of, that we don't like about ourselves, but also what we like also, I think, because it's not only that you drink the medicine and you have to face your shadow only. I mean, I think everyone that has drink can say that they had marvelous experience also, like experience to connect with your heart, with the universal heart, or whatever we want to call it, or humor, laughter. I mean, I had so much fun, I was so grateful for ayahuasca because it really brings up this humor, like take it lightly because life is short and you better laugh. I don't take yourself too much serious, or too seriously.
So you mentioned a few times, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that, it's also a good, I talked to some people I told, like it's common to have sometimes, not for everyone, but to have this biographic movie, biographic resume. It's like you can go through your life, it's easy for the medicine to bring you back in some moments in life. I have this experience of time traveling. I was like, this is time traveling. You don't need a machine. You just drink a little bit of ayahuasca and you go. But it helped me go back to the past where I was struggling, and I was able to give comfort to myself. And that was awesome. Like, okay, I'm here in the future, learning new tools, and then I can go be in front of myself in that situation that I can recreate, because ayahuasca is helping me recreating that, and I can give a strength to myself in that moment that no one else was there. I found that very, very interesting. Not only with ayahuasca, but with other medicines in the diet space also. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's a very interesting way of working with your life.
Well, you mentioned this idea of dieting. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, as I said, I did not know anything about dieting. And yeah, I think the first 2 diets, well, the first 3 or 4 diets I did with Shipibo, and the first 3, they were like social diets, no, that we were doing there while we were working. And that was so hard because you could only eat this rice and the potatoes and the plátano maduro. And I remember one of that, I did it for 2 months. It was like, Jesus Christ, I cannot eat any more of that, no? Yeah, so for me, it was very interesting concept, no? Like, you have to isolate yourself, you have to not eat. And so in these diets that, because we were working, no, was social diets, the time I was spending with myself was very precious, but was really until the moment I didn't do a proper diet, like really go into isolation, no phone, no distractions, no guests to take care of, you know, that then I said, oh my God, okay, that's something else, you know. And for me, I think the big discovery of Peru was the diet space, because I don't know, for me was, I create a space of intimacy with myself that I never expected that was possible, you know. And at the same time, a space of intimacy with God, with the divine, with life itself. And that for me was so precious, because when you drink ayahuasca or you drink other medicine like peyote, San Pedro, that they are psychoactive in a way that, no, some people call them psychedelics. I'm not very attuned with that. But yeah, they have an effect, no? They create an altered state of consciousness that is very obvious. It's like, yes, I'm there. But what I found with the diets was like, yeah, you are in a different state of consciousness for sure, but it's so subtle that it requires a lot of effort for your part. You know, it requires a lot of concentration. And for me, the process of dieting was learning to be quiet, learning to watch my mind, because sometimes it was this monkey, you know, like I was banging my head to the walls, like, shut up, you know, like arriving to the limits of boredom. You know, I cannot be, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to put myself. I want to scream and I can't. And how you pass these stages and then open. And then another space is open. And I remember the capacity of seeing my life from far away, you know, and seeing my life so small, and all the things that were happening, relations to people, and oh, I want to change that in my tambo because I want, you know, I want to have a bigger toilet, and that's very important right now. It's like, so, you know, and all the problems I had, you know, and all the things were so little, and having the opportunity to see my life from that perspective, so little, you know, but knowing that when I'm back there, that will be important, you know. That was like the wow. So for me, it was like, well, just remember when you are back in your normal life, just remember this experience, and remember that when something seems very important and very upsetting or very, no, remember this, not that. It's not that, you know, life is much more than that, and you're very small at the end of the day. And yeah, for me, that is the thing that I would really, really like to bring here in Spain, you know, is that one of my intentions of giving diets here to people is to give people the opportunity to have this experience, you know, just to connect with yourself in a very deep way, you know, very deep way, just to become your best friend, really. You know, that in the space that you hang out with yourself, that everything is okay, that there's peace, you know, that there's nothing to worry in this present moment, right here, right now. We are not hungry, even though we are not eating, but everything is okay. I think that's one of the big teachings of the diets and the plants, you know, and all these big trees from the jungle, no? I think for me, they brought this teaching, you know, that this discipline of the verticality of the tree that also connects earth and sky. And in that harmony, there's peace. And that we can have inside also, no? We need to work through that, and it's not easy. It's very easy to say, but the process to arrive there is very difficult, but it's very worthy, I think.
Do you think that's one of the interesting paradoxes about this medicine and these works, is one can have these extremely profound out-of-body experiences, universal, eons into the future, eons into the past, other beings, other universes, and yet at the same time, the teachings come down to these, as you said, these very simple, fundamental things.
Mm-hmm. That for me was the difference between dieting and ayahuasca, right? Because I found myself touching my limits with ayahuasca also. Arriving to places that say, okay, I'm done one and I can't go farther than here. And yeah, as you say, sometimes is this outer body experience. But what I found with the diets is that they were like very in the present moment, you know, for me. Even though, obviously, when you drink your medicines and you do your work, you have your experience there also. But for me, the diet was like more anchored in the present moment. And because it's subtle, you know, it requires from you of that really, okay, I need to be here. And, you know, with the medicine, with ayahuasca, sometimes with other plants, it's more easy because they evoke a lot, you know, and the effect is very, sometimes is very obvious. Sometimes not. The medicine also works. Sometimes it's very subtle and you really need to concentrate and you really need to be quiet and to be there and perceive. And sometimes it's true, ayahuasca also comes in a very subtle way, and that's the work. But most of the times it's a plant that really shows up in an obvious way. And for me, the diets give me that other, no, maybe because also my background, no, like when I was living in these squads and I do a lot of drugs, and I was looking for that unconscious, this other part, you know. And for me, the diets just gave me like, look, you can arrive to these places and you, from here and now, you know, you don't need to go somewhere. Or what I found also with the diets was like, in terms of the visionary space, you know, that I was able to create the visions I needed, you know, from this other space. For me, it's a little difficult to say, because it's not that I have the visions here like a movie, but is in another kind of space. And through that, it was like, wow, I'm able to create what I need in order to help me, in order to heal me, in order to have fun also. And that's also something I really appreciate about tobacco, that for me, it's the medicine of the present moment. It's here, it's now, it's your body, it's your breath, and it's your mind. And I really, really appreciate that from the plant, from tobacco.
So maybe you can talk a bit more about that. Some people may be familiar with tobacco. I mean, I'm sure most people know what tobacco is, but when you're talking about working with it in a medicinal way, what does that entail?
Yeah, so I as I said before, going to the temple, I drank a couple of times tobacco here with a friend that he's also tabaquero. And yeah, for me it was like, wow, I never thought that. I smoked from, I started smoking when I was 13. So tobacco has been always with me. And when he gave it to me in liquid, it was like, what? And I had this beautiful purge and I felt very clear and very good afterwards. but kind of that fall in the back of my mind. And when I arrived there to the jungle, and at the beginning, I could not stand mapacho. I was like, no way, I'm not gonna smoke that. That's horrible. And, you know, as a work tool, because at the end we were smoking because of work. Yeah, and so it was when I met Ernesto, and I said, okay, I'm going to diet tobacco. That blew my mind quite a lot also. So tobacco, yeah, you drink it in a tea, and it's a very purgative plant. So it's like a deep cleaner, no? Like in a physical body. It's, for me, it's the same that does in your body. It does it in your mind, in your emotions, in your spirit. It's like, yeah, I don't know how you say that in English, but like a very potent cleaner. And so it also helps you root yourself in your body. At least that's my experience. Huh? Tobacco brings me back to my body in a way that any other plant has. And it's also give me a sense of empowerment, of power, of protection. And yeah, for me, I mean, when I first diet tobacco, I was in a very challenging moment. And yeah, I couldn't believe what tobacco was doing, you know, like every day. The first day I drink it was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. They make me singear, like they maybe snort it. And I was like, that's crying, like, no. But the days were passing, and I wanted to drink, you know, I was waiting for Ernesto to come and give me more tobacco, please, because all the dream space, all the ceremonial space with the plant was so radiant and so full of light and full of good, you know. I could feel the good in it. So yeah, I think I secretly fall in love with tobacco in that first diet. I didn't know, but I really buy it. So
And
yeah, for me, yeah, say.
yeah, you mentioned these ideas of power and cleansing and bringing one to the present moment. Are those reasons one would drink tobacco? It's because I think when most people are coming to work with ayahuasca, there's some sense of, for most people, obviously it depends on the person, but there's some sense of, something is off. I'm looking for something. I want to discover more. I need to heal something. And so they work with ayahuasca. Would you say it's the same thing with tobacco? It does the same things as ayahuasca, but in a different way, or it's just a completely different experience altogether?
I think it does similar things in complete different way, but also I would, or at least with the people I work with tobacco with, it's like people that is having a difficult time in decision making. You know, when you feel unsettled, when you are having difficulties to organize, difficulties to focus, to have direction, when you feel very airy, you know, like, yeah, disembodied. Also, when you feel charged, you know, sometimes, well, yeah, people feeling, I feel heavy. There's something heavy in my body. There's something heavy in my mind. My thoughts are not clear. Then they come and work with tobacco. But also, I think that it's very useful to work with tobacco before any other medicine, you know, because I think tobacco works in a way. Tobacco, well, I think also all the plants, they go very deep, but tobacco especially, I feel that it arrives to places that we don't realize that is there, you know, and connects, I think is the subtlest connection, you know, between you and the divine. And that's a connection that once it's done, for me, if people cultivate that connection, that can grow and grow and grow and grow. But yeah, I have treated people like, yeah, very unrooted, with clumsy mind. I treat some people after COVID also, like to restore the immune system, to help getting back the smell and the taste. But yeah, I think if someone feels confused, I think they should drink tobacco. Because sometimes people goes and drink ayahuasca and that's perfect, but sometimes the medicine can confuse more. When if the person is not strong, it can confuse more things. But if you drink tobacco first, you clean, and then you go, you drink ayahuasca, and then it's like going more directly to the point. And because tobacco has done this beautiful work of just cleansing, just taking out all the grease and dust that we accumulate inside.
Yeah. So when you finished that process and you were still working at the temple, eventually you decided to leave, to go back home. What was that? Was there a calling to do that, or and what was that process like for you?
Yeah, that was kind of a calling. Yeah, I mean, I was like 4.5 years there, and I said, okay, if I stay more, I could stay more. But I also realized that being at the temple was awesome, but if I stayed, I will always be a facilitator, And I really wanted to do something else. I wanted to give medicine to the people, to give the tobacco, and I thought, I want to go back to just to bring all of that there, and just to have my own project. And also my family was here, my mom, my father, and my friend. I was really missing them. And I felt it was a time where if I stayed longer, it will be more difficult to come back here, And thanks God I came, because a year after we went into lockdown, COVID, So I escaped. But yeah, I decided to come back. It was not easy because the temple, it's been the place I've been the longest, like without moving. I always was before, I moved places a lot, different flats, but the temple was my home for 5 years. So that was challenging to decide, but yeah. And just before coming, I was thinking, okay, that's going to be like the image that was coming to me was like a plant that you transplant. You grab the plant and you transplant it. So I was analyzing this symbol. It's like, okay, be aware that you will feel stress as the plant feels stress. The plant with all, like the roots and rooting the plant, what happening to the roots and the air, they feel with no ground below, and then you will be put in a new earth, and then it will take some time for you to recover and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, one thing is to have that in mind and to think about, and the other thing is to live it, and the integration or the change or the coming here, it has been at some stage quite brutal. But yeah, I mean, integration is a big part of this work, right? And as big is the experience, as big will be the integration. So I thought, oh my God, 5 years there. How long will it take for me? And integration is a very important part of working with plants, right? Because you can have experience in the diet, in the ceremony, but how you apply that to life is what really matters. You can have plenty ceremonies with plenty beautiful experience or challenging experience, but if you don't apply that in your daily life, then what? And that's a hard work. That's like carving a tunnel in a mountain with a teaspoon. And yeah, coming here was very hard. No, after 5 years in the jungle, back to Barcelona. And that was like crashing a lot. I was going very open. No, I mean, if for the ones that hear that they have been living in the jungle, they know what I mean. But was like the setting, the change of setting was so heavy from environmental setting, no, air, water, food, daytime, you know, because I arrived here in spring, so day was super long, 8 in the afternoon and bright light. That was driving me crazy, all the jet lag. And from the openness that I was coming from the jungle, no, this clean diet, everything, to the city, you know, to the noise of the city, the stress of the city, the smells of the city, and meeting your family, meeting your friends, and most of all, meeting all your own patterns that are here waiting for you to come back to have some tea. So yeah, that was extremely challenging. And I thought so much in all the people that I have met in the temple, all the guests, you know, that, wow, guys, that's really something. And it's funny because at some stages, I felt supported for them, you know, in some weird way. I felt all these people I have worked with, they were with me in this integral, like, yeah, you are not alone. That happened to us also, you know, in different ways, in different struggles and challenges, no? But yeah, this process of integration has been very interesting because I had to detach. I realized how attached I was to who I was, you know, who I was in Peru, the Irene from Peru, no? And all of that. And letting go of that was really challenging. You know? And at the end, you need to let go because it's what it is. To emerge in a new way, you know? And that process was very, very hard because I was very attached, very, very attached, you know, to everything. And also because I realized the temple had this beautiful structure, but very strong structure, where you could move freely and unfold, you know. But finding myself without that structure, I was feeling like groundless, you know, and finding the ground again and building up my own structure to unfold freely in my own structure. That was also very challenging. You know? And yeah, not having the people you had for 5 years almost around, no? All of a sudden anyone's there. It's like, oh my God, what is all these people? And yeah, I went through phases of a lot of isolation, although I had beautiful friends here that support me a lot and family, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, like phases of really going to the abyss and not understanding, no, crisis of faith. I don't feel my diet. I don't feel the plans. I should be and in that way, not that way. No, a lot, all this, all stuff coming up. And at the end of the day, I realized that, no, because I was thinking, no, if you do diets, if you work with plants, you should be okay always, no, because you have your plans, because and it's like, no, the plans are there to challenge you, you know, and the plans will bring up stuff that is there and that is gonna be difficult for you. And as they give you tools, they give you homework, you know. And because things were not happening as I was expecting, I was suffering a lot. And it took me a long process to drop the expectations, you know, to drop the attachments. It's like, no, Irene, that's not gonna be how you want. It's like, or how you expect, you know, and was not not so far away that I could step back and say, okay, let's drop all this dictatorship of the mind that is the expectation. And we talk about expectation a lot, no, with the people when they approach plant medicine, but it's not only in plant medicine, it's in life. Drop your expectation, and then you'll see how life is unfolding really. And you stop judging yourself and how life is, and you start perceiving also things, because at least for me, expectations, it narrows a lot the way I perceive, you know. When I can free myself from these expectations, then I can perceive how things are. And at the end of the day, everything's okay. It's like coming back all this circle, oh my God, to arrive to that place. So yeah, integration.
Yeah, integration is a topic a lot of people speak about or interested in. Did, you know, through your experience working as a facilitator of ceremonies, working with tobacco, integrating yourself, are there tools that you found for yourself or for others that are helpful in that process?
I mean, for me, even though it was difficult in my experience coming back here, it was very difficult to create because I felt completely disconnected from my creativity. But when I start to draw, to do something, that helped me a lot. Also, we used a lot in the temple, no, this RAIN acronym: recognizing, acknowledging, non-attachment. I know, recognizing and acknowledging, investigating, non-attachment. That really helped because, and another thing that helped a lot for me was this somatic technique, TRE, that I knew about that at the temple. And then, yeah, when I came here, I got into the training, the TRE training. And for me, that was a big thing, because in all this process, I felt very much out of my body. You know, I had a lot of anxiety, kind of depression. And this technique was helping me going back to the body and shifting the mindset through the body, you know, and it was helping me, that the teachings of Thierry was helping me seeing that I was, well, just recognizing where my nervous system was, you know, and how my nervous system have been through a process also of adapting. That was really interesting. But yeah, for the integration, I think another thing that is, for me, it has been very important is to have support, you know, from friends. And that's something that is priceless, you know. In the moment, for me, a big moment was asking for help. You know, at some point I had a breakdown and I had to ask for help, you know, like, and it's beautiful when you have a net and the experience of being helped. I think that's a big part of the integration, is to learn that sometimes we cannot do it alone. And it's beautiful, you know, and it's very wise to ask for help and then to have the experience to receive that help, you know. So yeah. And another thing that helped me a lot also in that same note was looking for a therapist, you know, because there's some things I cannot work with myself because I cannot facilitate myself, you know, and I needed someone external to do that with me. And it was beautiful, beautiful.
The somatic things, I'm sure some people are familiar with that, but some aren't. What is a somatic therapy, and also what is TRE?
Yeah, TRE is a tension and trauma release exercise. And this is a technique that was developed by David Berceli. And it's like through a series of 7 exercises, you activate your body. And then these how it's called? Neurogenic tremors. These exercises bring up the neurogenic tremors, that is a way we as mammals have in common with the other species of mammals, and is a way for the body to regulate itself, you know, is helping the nervous system to go back to state of connection, social connection, and calm and safety. And so that for me was a very big discovery, because, you know, the body holds a lot of tension, a lot of prints of different things that happen to us in life. And through the tremoring, you can go through different layers of tensions, you know, and you learn to regulate yourself. For example, that's a very, last year we had these conflicts here in Catalonia, you know, and I was in Barcelona, and it was a lot of police everywhere. And I was waiting for a friend in a square, and all of a sudden I saw these police coming and people running, and I got very scared, you know, and all myself, like, it got, and it was nothing, really, was nothing. So, okay, I said, okay, I'm okay. But my body was like, no, you're not, because you are all tense. And I said, okay, because it was night and was not many lights. I stand there and I start to tremor myself, you know, a little bit, like 5 minutes. No one was here. I was changing positions. And when I finished, I felt different, you know, like something left, you know, some of the tension, some of the, so what the tremor does also is helping the hormones that the stress is producing to be released. And so the person can go back to a space of calmness. That's in a very, that's a short way of putting it, no? But yeah, for me, that was a very nice tool to have with me during this time. And now I'm very happy because I'm finally certified, so I can work.
I was talking to someone the other day, I can't remember who it was, but they were saying something about, for them, one of the things that these plants were doing was getting them in touch better with this intuition that resides in everyone, this kind of sense of knowing. And one of the memories that I have of you that I really always remember really well is we were doing a workshop with Richard, who I actually just interviewed yesterday. And his brother was there. I'm sure they won't mind me relating this. And his brother was really struggling. I was somewhere else working, so I only found out about this the next day because you had gone over to him. And I could be getting the story completely wrong, so correct me if it is. But he was really struggling, and he was kind of stuck in this space. And I think most people in that situation, most people holding that space, probably would have tried talking to them or recommending some other tool or something. And you recommended that he took more medicine. And I thought that was a really bold move. And that would only come from, someone who's really done this work and has an understanding of it, but also coming from a place of some sort of intuition of knowing that in that moment, that's going to be the thing that he really needs. And when he came out of that experience the following day, after that second dose, he had, I think, at least up until that point in his life, the most profound experience he had ever had. He was a lifelong Buddhist, and he kind of experienced the essence of those teachings, and it was a completely revelational experience for him. So is that something you find that these plants are also, they're helping us to get in touch with that inner knowing that we all have inside of us?
Totally. Yeah, because in ceremony, maybe because it's so dark, well, in this setting is dark, but in ceremony in general, whatever is the setting, you need to work with that intuition. And sometimes it's telling you to do things that make no sense, maybe, but if you follow, you see the result after, no? and yeah, with him was pretty much that. I approached him and he didn't tell me much, really. He was like, I'm not in a good space, and was like, okay, drink. But I really give him very, very little. And yeah, something was very clear for me. It's like, yeah, just this sip, this taste of medicine, no? Because sometimes one can get lost in a loop in the medicine, and it's just this drop of medicine can change. Also in the Santo Daime, they say that, no, they drink 3 times, and they say that each time is different. So if you only drink 2 times, you can get stuck in the second. So the third will help you go somewhere else, you know. And I think that intuition came from that side, really. But yeah, I think that, yeah, working with all these plants, I mean, there's a big part of this intuition that resides in the body. Also, the body tells you, the body knows before you, you know. And I think everyone has the capacity to have that. Like, it's like a little diamond that we just need to clean and to put in place. But yeah, I'm totally sure that working with this kind of plants is going to unfold this intuition, and it's gonna, they teach us how to listen also, and how to do, you know. But also in other situations, I doubt. It's like, if you don't follow straight and you doubt, then yeah, the mind goes in, no, but what? But that's not that, no. Just do it. If it's not right, you'll see after, you know. But yeah.
That's something else I find really interesting, is this idea of doubt. And I think something many people who've worked with these plants have experienced is some form of magic. And that's not in, like, you know, pulling rabbits out of hats in that sense, but
Harry Potter.
you know, this sense of the world, the universe is a place of magic. It's so much more intricate and complex and beautiful and awe-inspiring, and there's so much that we don't know. And I find one of the fascinating things about plants is it to some degree taps us back into that. And I think, you know, people who really work well with these plants, when they begin holding a space, they often have this ability to tap into that. And, you know, as you said, it's always this interesting thing, because doubt is always there. Doubt can always come in and say, oh, well, you know, that's just my imagination, or, you know, that's just my mind talking. And yet, I think something that's really common with people who've gone really deeply into these plants is they have a sense that they're also being guided by something, or there's an access. And not that, you know, like every moment of our lives we're living in some altered state where everything is just, you know, told to us, but there are these moments where there's a clarity and there's an understanding that something is at work that's beyond what we realize. Are you able to speak to that at all, about what that balance is between, you know, tapping into that, also the imagination, and then also that realm of doubt? Because I think doubt is something that so many people experience and are kind of in a struggle with, you know, all the time. I mean, I think so many of the things that people come to this work for actually revolve to some degree around doubt, like my life's purpose, my place in the world, my love relationships. There's this seed of doubt in them that's really holding people back. So I know that's kind of a big question, but
all the questions today. No, yeah, no, it's very interesting. No, yeah, I think that I mean, doubt is healthy. You know, I think doubting is healthy, because doubt, it helps you to review, your life, but to a certain degree, and there's a big part in this work with plants that at least I realize have to do a lot with your imagination. But imagination is not, it's something that you create, but this doesn't mean that it's not real. You're just creating that. And I think working with plants, one of the teachings is that you can create things with your mind, how to use the mind in a better way, in a way that really serve you. And yeah, when you were saying, when you are in ceremony with people that really do their work and really can open this space, and you can really feel like, wow, we are doing something here, something magic is happening, but it's a magic that doesn't have anything to do with Harry Potter doing flying in the, no, it's much more delicate than that, and resides in each one of us and our own capacities, to create the beliefs that are good for us, that are really good for us, to be able to believe in what is good for me, to create new beliefs, to decide what I believe and what I not believe. I think that's magic. Because so many people have these beliefs that are, they are just restricting us, and they are not doing any good for us, and yet they are so difficult to stop believing in, even though they are not good for us, we can't stop believing that. So for me, opening that space where you can create your own beliefs, I'm gonna believe what serves in my life. I think that's quite magic. And for me, plants can help definitely in that way. And also a little bit in the line of your own symbology, like create in your mind what you need. It's not the easy talk that you create your reality, whatever you think. No, but it really can. It's not that if I think about money, I'm going to have money here. No, but if I think in abundance, if I create an image of abundance, it's much better than create an image of scarcity. It's going to have different effect on reality. That's for sure. And for sure, it's going to be different for everyone, but for sure, it's going to have an effect. And yeah, I think all these kind of plants really can help us discover the path, of a better use of the mind and the heart, because they are all related, and the body, it's all there.
So with ice ears, do you, like, so much of their work is it seems to be trying to bring these plants, these traditions, these medicines more to the mainstream. And it's something that I've always found really fascinating, is the more, because I've always been somehow really interested in things like spirituality and different practices, and that's really what led my curiosity to plants. And the more I kind of look into it or feel into it or experience it, it seems to me like this work was really at the root of cultures all over the world. I mean, every culture. And, for various reasons, for many cultures, it's been lost. And it seems like, one of the things Ice Ears is doing is trying to bring this ancient knowledge back into the forefront, and in a way, like, make it more accessible and shine some light on it, because there's so many kind of weird theories about it, and so many discriminations, and so do you have a sense of, because you have worked with Ice Ears, do you have a sense of the direction that this work is moving in? Like, do you see a light at the end of the tunnel? Do you see more mainstream acceptance? Do you see In certain areas, it is kind of moving more into the mainstream culture, and any idea or sense of how that will happen?
Yeah, yeah. I think that one of the aspects that I like the most from ICERs is that they are bringing light into all this world, but also bringing up the importance of respecting the originary cultures, and giving them a place of respect and recognition and acknowledgement, to all the originary cultures that work with the medicine. And is like in the forefront, there's the ayahuasca, but what is behind the ayahuasca, is a lot of, I mean, the ayahuasca is again, is the tip of the iceberg, But for me, in doing that work, it's also a work of recognition of all the different cultures that there's behind. And I think that's very, very important because, sometimes we can forget where all of that come from. It's like, okay, I'm working with tobacco, for example, and I will do it. I learn from a tradition and I will do. And at the end, obviously, I will do it my way, and I will adapt what I knew to what I feel and to what I feel people need also, But I should not forget where that come from, and I should not forget to honor, all this tradition. So that's one side that I found very fascinating and very needed, all the rights of the indigenous people. And yes, I said before, it's also bringing this scientific perspective, because sometimes the talk is very spiritual, and for so many people it's like, nope, I'm not going there. But or family of people that drink ayahuasca, they get worried. Okay, if they see these scientific papers, if they see these results, scientific results, ayahuasca is not toxic for your neurons. It's the contrary. It's going to help your neurons to grow. Like, oh, wow, okay, that's also and I think that the Western world is in need of this spiritual connection, to regain the spiritual connection. What I found in my years in Peru was a lot of white people learning from the indigenous people. And I understood, it's like, I understand, claro, I don't have teachers in Europe that they can teach me how to use the plants in this way. So I come here, I learn a technique. So now I can go to my hometown, my home, and I can connect with the nature here, through tobacco, through different trees. There's plenty of trees in Europe and different plants in North America, But because here there's this lack of abuelos that know how to connect spiritually, with the plants. So I guess that, yeah, ICER is bringing up to the surface, to the mainstream, all this way of approaching nature, way of approaching the medicine. And look, ayahuasca is all around the world. I mean, the plant is spread, it's like, whoa. For me, it's also interesting to start working with the plants that you have in your land, because everywhere there's some plant that is gonna open that psychoactive door and can lead you to this kind of connection, from mushrooms to different kind of harmalas and different kind of ayahuascas that you can do, that there's records that they have been used in Middle Asia, Europe, Greece, there's plenty plants. So my concern is also towards the medicine, the ayahuasca. It's like, if everyone wants to drink ayahuasca now, it's like, okay, guys, let's sit for a bit and think about that. The jungle is resourceful, of course, but there's a lot of people wanting to drink. So why don't we turn to our, our land and see what kind of plants we have here that can open that, just to give a rest to the jungle, because who knows, maybe someday, there's no more ayahuasca. And also because sometimes I feel we keep extracting from the jungle, and even with the tobacco, it's like, okay, am I going to be depending of asking for someone to send me tobacco? I will have to go to buy tobacco, or I will plant tobacco here. Of course, the soil is not the same. The jungle is the jungle, and that will be always like that. And the power of the earth and all the nutrients that is unique, but also each land has its own properties, and what better for the people from the land, the things from the land, they will be different for sure, but maybe they are better for the people that drink them or take them. So that's some of my thoughts around that.
Yeah, beautiful. So where do you see yourself going with all of this work? You mentioned you're starting to, or you've started holding space for people, working with tobacco, giving diets. Do you see that that's where your life is moving, or things are still unfolding?
Things are still unfolding. Next week I will start working on my website. But yeah, I want to offer in one side the TRE sessions, because of this situation of COVID and lockdown, and the body is very tight and our heart is very tight and we need to shake it off. This is one side. And then, yeah, I would love to keep giving tobacco to people. Diets, I need to find a good place to give the diets. But yeah, my project by now is that it's like theory and tobacco. So it's not yet finished, but I feel very, very soon will be. So yeah, I see by now, I see myself doing that. And I had this insight the other day, it was like remembering, when I was in the temple, and I was like, that's the job of my life, like working with ayahuasca, doing art therapy, and when I came here, I was like, oh my God, I did the job of my life already. Fuck, it's like, what I'm gonna do now? Shit. And when I started to have ideas about this new project, I wanted to include art therapy, so bad. But some part of me was like, some way I'm not feeling it right now. And was like, look, art therapy is always inside of you, and that will come, and it's like just letting go again, letting go of what you did, you did what you did is awesome and it's there. Thank you. And now you are creating something new. Give space for something new. And maybe in 5 more years, you will discover another thing, you will study it, and you will introduce, and maybe you leave something behind, and then and that, I think that's part of the integration also, to learn to trust whatever you do, And another thing that I wanted to say about the magic side, and what you were talking before, that a friend told me some days ago, and it's like, in the moments when we are very low, that is when all this doubt came in, and then we think that we are left alone, that the plants are not with us, that the spirits are not with us. That's the moment where that they are most with us, that we have more company. When you really feel alone, it's like, oh my God, I cannot feel, is the moment where everyone is there for you. But you are so caught in your worries, so caught in your feelings, in your struggle, that it makes you feel you are alone. I could relate to that very much.
Well, beautifully, Irene. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
very soon I will be releasing some of my hits, some of my songs in SoundCloud. So I will let you know. Also, I've been, as I said, I love to sing. I've been singing in ceremonies for a long time, and I've been receiving some very beautiful songs that I really want to share, because I think they are for that, just to share. So we're starting also a little project, a musical project here. So very soon that will be out. And yeah, this was a pleasure to be here with you. I was very nervous, I have to say. It's been a long time since I don't speak in English, and I was very worried, you know, that I will not be able to speak, but yeah. And I felt very comfortable and very nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing it. It's a pleasure to see you in this virtual reality.
Totally. Thanks God for this virtual reality.
And yeah, you know, it's been a pleasure to know you. I have a lot of love for you and a lot of respect for you. I think you're a human being, and I really wish you the best. And I look forward to when we connect outside of this virtual space again. And I'm sure, you know, we'll put the links up to how to contact you. And I would think anyone who's in Catalonia or
Catalonia, or yeah, Europe, if they want, they need anything.
Yeah, they would be in very good hands with you. So
totally. Thank you so much for the invitation. I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Bueno, chica. Ciao.
Ciao.
Okay, everybody, that is it. That's all for today's show. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Irene. I always really love talking to her. She's a beautiful woman, beautiful, I think, ambassador of this work. So that's it for today's show. As always, if you're able to help to support the show, Patreon is a really good option. There's different tiers you can subscribe to, giving you things like early access to shows, bonus material, Q&As. So it's a really nice way to give and also to get something back. There's also the option of direct donating via PayPal. There's a link in the show notes. And also, if you're not able to do that, or if you are, and you're also able to, on the YouTube channel, Universe Within Podcast, the homepage, subscribing to the show, turning on the little notification bell, and liking the video, that's a really big help. And also with the audio version, going on Apple Podcasts and leaving a starred rating and a review. So that's it for the show. The next few guests, I'm not quite sure the order yet, because I've shot a few of these shows kind of a bit far in advance. But there'll, as always, be some good guests coming out. So thank you guys for all the support, to all the Patreon supporters. Thank you very much to everyone who's donated via PayPal. Thank you very much to everyone who's subscribed to the show and has listened and has given great feedback. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all on the next episode.
Ra